What's up guys, my name's Brandon and the iPhone 6s is the oldest device compatible with iOS 15, and as I do every year, I wanted to take a look at how the software runs and share my experience with you guys after using the first beta for a little while. And let us just take a minute to acknowledge the fact that Apple is still supporting a device released all the way back in 2015. So this is a 6-year-old device and it is still getting almost all of the new features that the $1,000+ iPhones are getting, which is just crazy impressive and just something that you won't find on any other operating system these days. But anyways, let's go ahead and discuss how the iPhone 6s runs on iOS 15 beta 1 in terms of the new features, the performance, the battery life, the bugs, and more. So before we get into the new features, I did want to briefly talk about the storage of iOS 15 because, as you guys know, back in 2015, we had 16 gigabyte devices, and I happen to have a 16 gigabyte iPhone 6s, which obviously causes issues with storage every single time there's a new update. So as you can see, this update size was 4.39 gigabytes on my 6s. However, it took about 5.3 gigabytes to install it. So of course the operating system needed a little bit more storage than exactly what it shows there. So you're going to need about 5.3 gigabytes available. And I actually had to completely restore my device to get rid of some of the extra things that were just kind of hanging around, taking up storage space, like my caches and things like that. So you may be in a similar situation if you have a 16 gigabyte device. It's not ever anything fun, and it's not fun to get rid of things, but that is something you will have to, think about before you update to iOS 15. Just make sure to have a backup if you do decide to restore your device. And actually, if I go to my settings here and then go to my general iPhone storage, you can see this is what my iPhone storage is looking like right now on iOS 15. So you can see iOS takes up, almost half of my storage, and system data takes up like the other half. So pretty wild. If we go all the way down, you can see the iOS and system data both take up 7 gigabytes apiece. Now, I'm not sure if that's a bug or if it's just because we're in the first beta or what, but that is a lot higher than it was on iOS 14. My system data was only like 2 gigabytes. So, it tripled here after I installed iOS 15 beta 1. So hopefully that size of the system data there goes down with time and over the next couple of betas. But you can see this includes caches, logs, and other resources currently in use by the system, even though nothing's really in use that I know of right now. So just be aware that this does take a lot of storage, especially out of a 16 gigabyte device. So now let's talk about the new features here in iOS 15. Now I'm sure you guys already know about most of the new features, especially if you watched my video where I showed over 85 new features and changes in iOS 15. But I also want to discuss how these features are running on the iPhone 6s specifically. So let's start with the home screen. So of course, iOS 14 introduced widgets for the first time. And in my video that I made on iOS 14 for the iPhone 6s, I talked about how widgets on the home screen really drain the battery of the 6s and the SE specifically. And unfortunately, that is still the case here with iOS 15. So I only have these on here for the video, but if I'm going to be using this on my personal device, I probably would have maybe one widget total, just because I've noticed the battery life takes a hit when you have a lot of widgets on the home screen on the 6s. Now we do have a couple of new things here. So of course we still do have widgets in the plus up in the top right. We have a few new widgets here like the contacts, like the Find My, Game Center, Mail, and also Sleep. Those are all new here in iOS 15. We also have a new look for like the Files widget. As you can see right here, it's more transparent. And also if we go into edit this smart stack, you can see we have a whole new UI here, and we have different buttons down here than we did in iOS 14. We can also rearrange our home screens and delete home screens as well by going into jiggle mode right here and tapping on the 3 icons in the bottom, and you can move your pages around just like so. You can actually delete them as well. So like if you uncheck them, you have the option to delete, and you can see there when I delete it, it actually sends all those applications over to the app library. Now, if we go into the control center, you'll notice that we have a new section here called Focus. So if you tap on that, you will get this little menu right here. And Focus is basically just an enhanced version of Do Not Disturb. So we do have the classic Do Not Disturb there. We have all these different ones they could set up. And I talked about this more in depth in my iOS 15 What's New video, which again, I will have linked in the cards and the description. But basically this is really cool because it will set the status, and you'll also see it up in your status bar up there when you are in this mode, and people will not be able to contact you. You can select who wants to contact you and things like that. You'll also see it on the lock screen right here. So you'll see this new icon right there on the lock screen. You can also get to this in settings and focus, and this is where you can set up all of your different focus modes right here. So like for personal, I can set who's allowed to contact me, which applications are allowed to send me notifications. The home screen, I have these different options right here for delayed delivery for notifications and things like that. And we just had a random respring, so this is expected for a first beta. But one thing I was also going to say about the focus feature is that if we go back to the lock screen right here, you will notice that you cannot tap and hold on this icon right here like you can on other devices. So that appears to be a bug here on the 6S, or just some of the limited functionality of the 6S with this specific feature. And apparently it just completely ran out of battery from like 20% all the way down. Okay, maybe not. That was weird. It just showed the no battery remaining icon, and now it's going to boot up even though I didn't even plug it in to charge. Actually, we had 49% remaining. So welcome to a first beta. We also have a change to the incoming message notification. So you can see there's a new UI when a message comes in. We have the image of the contact over here on the left, and the whole banner is just a little bit more slimmed down and more refined in iOS 15. And speaking of messages, if we go into the messages application, you will see that we have a few new changes in here as well. So first off, up in the top right, you can see we have the FaceTime icon for quick and easy access to starting a FaceTime video or call. You can also get to the contact with one tap now by simply just tapping on the contact's photo up there. Also, when somebody sends you multiple photos, you can see you get this new carousel view where you can go through and look at all the photos just like so, instead of taking up, the entire screen and having to keep scroll through different photos. You can also download them really quickly and just one press of a button right there on the right. You can also tap on this little 7 photos right here to see them in a different little grid view. Now, unfortunately, one of my favorite features in iOS 15, which is live text, is not available on the iPhone 6S. So you're not going to be able to hold your camera up to text and have it recognize that text, and you can copy and paste it like you can on some of the newer devices. So for example, if I hold my iPhone 12 Pro up to this text, you can see it can recognize it from there, and I can copy and paste it and things like that. So you don't get that feature on the iPhone 6S, unfortunately. And we also do not get every new feature with the FaceTime application. So if you open up FaceTime, we do have a complete redesign to the FaceTime application, and we do have the create link feature. The whole new UI is here on the iPhone 6S. However, we did not get the new video and audio modes in the control center. So you don't get the portrait video, and you also do not have the voice isolation and the different voice modes that you can activate via the control center when you're in a FaceTime call. And I've also noticed that FaceTime overall is pretty buggy, especially on the iPhone 6S. FaceTime audio is fine, but FaceTime video, I have run into quite a few bugs here on the 6S specifically. We also have some pretty big changes to the Safari application. So you can see here, you get all of the new features on the 6S that you get on like the iPhone 12 Pro. So we have the address bar now down at the very bottom instead of at the top. We can also go back and forth between tabs by just simply swiping over like that. And you can see there is some stutter here on iOS 15. It's not the best in terms of performance, but it's not bad. So you can see this is how Safari is in iOS 15. We're just going to scroll through this web page. You can see pretty smooth, not too bad. There is a little bit of stutter again, but it's nothing terrible. And you'll also notice that the address bar kind of blends in to that bottom bar. It kind of turns into that bottom bar as you scroll right there. Now, if you tap on these 3 dots right here, that is how you pull up the share sheet, and you can reload from there. You could also reload in iOS 15 Safari now by simply swiping down, and you can see the reload at the very top there. We also have tab groups. So if you tap on the tab icon right there, and you tap on this right here, you can see we have tab groups. This is also how you can get to a private tab and how you can create a new tab from the current tabs you have open, or a new tab group from the tabs you have open. So if I tap on that, you can see I can just make a new tab group. And you can see there is a little bit of lag there with the keyboard, but you can see that right there. You can also get to this view by simply pinching just like so. The iPhone 6S also has access to the new Dolby Atmos and Spatial audio here in Apple Music. So for example, if I connect my AirPods Pro right here, or any AirPods, you could do this on any AirPods, but the AirPods Pro and the AirPods Max will have head tracking. But you will see, if we go to this section right here, made for spatial audio, and we go to one of these songs, you can see the performance. It's a little bit lackluster. It's a little bit, struggling here inside of the music application. Our battery is also running pretty low. I mean, we've dropped, significantly in battery life, which I will talk about here in a minute. And keep in mind, that's also partly because I have barely any storage remaining. So if you're on a 32 gigabyte device or larger, you probably won't have near as many, performance issues that I'm encountering. There we go. So I had to manually close out of some applications to free up enough memory to get the music application to actually load. But anyways, once you're in here, you could see that once you're in a song with spatial audio, you will see this Dolby Atmos sign right above the play button. So it's in a slightly different spot than it is on other devices. And also if you go into your settings here and then go to music, so let's go back here, go to music, and then down to Dolby Atmos, you can see you can set this to automatic, always on or off. I would recommend keeping that on automatic, and you can actually enjoy this feature on your AirPods or AirPods Pro on the iPhone 6s. And as far as everything else goes, there are a lot of other small changes in iOS 15, which I covered again in that big video I did showing over 85 new features and changes. But some of the other minor things are just like the redesigned weather application. So the weather application looks a lot better now in iOS 15. So you can see it's completely redesigned. And we also have the little map right here as well. And we have all these sections down here. I wish we didn't have to go all the way down here to see the feels like temperature. I wish that was closer up top. You can also tap on this map in the bottom left to see a map for your weather right here. And you can also see things like the heat. You could change this to precipitation and air quality as well. You will also get alerts before severe weather starts, just like you did with the dark sky application, if you are familiar with that. Now, as far as the performance goes, performance is honestly way better than I expected. So after having a pretty bad experience on both iOS 13 and iOS 14 beta 1, iOS 15 feels better in comparison. Now, keep in mind, this is still a beta, a first beta at that, so there are going to be random bugs throughout the OS, and you're going to have apps randomly crash on you. You're going to have random restarts like you saw in this video, and you're going to encounter some lags in the keyboard, and switching between apps is not going to be the most smooth thing ever, but all of that is expected, and overall, it's just a lot less buggy than what you would expect from a first beta on the oldest compatible device. But I've been going into social media apps, and you can see when I scroll here in social media, it's actually pretty solid here for a beta on the 6S, and I've been watching YouTube videos as well. Everything in YouTube works as expected. I've also been doing some light gaming. I played things like Tiny Wings and Subway Surfer. I was not able to play PUBG just because I didn't have enough storage space, but everything runs fine as far as, games that are not super intensive. So obviously I would not try to install, PUBG or Call of Duty Mobile. It's just going to be a laggy, just frustrating experience. So I would stick to games that are very simple, like a Tiny Wings or something like that. So I'll just show you guys playing this game right here. It's actually pretty smooth, and I really have not had any frame drops or any stutter at all in an application like this. So that is nice to see. Even though it is, not a heavyweight game, it's still good to see that it at least runs perfectly fine here on the 6S on beta 1. Now, as far as battery life goes, this is where things went south with the 6S. Now, I don't ever expect great battery life from a beta release because it's a beta, it's gonna have bugs, it's gonna have issues, and also I don't expect great battery life from the iPhone 6S in general, no matter what device it's on because it's so old. But this experience has been terrible. And again, just like I pointed out at the beginning of the video, I noticed that when I'm on the home screen, just sitting on the home screen, that's when it drains a ton of battery for no real reason, except for the fact that it might just be the widgets, maybe getting information from the internet. I'm not sure what causes it, but the widgets is my only explanation for why the battery drains on the home screen. So I would limit the widgets on the iPhone 6S on your home screen, completely eliminate them if you can. If not, maybe just have like one or two widgets there, and probably don't have a stack because it seems like having a stack also makes it drain a little bit faster as well. Now, I've also been browsing social media. I've been, watching YouTube videos and things like that. And to my surprise, the battery's held up actually pretty well when I'm doing these specific tasks. I really have, the most issues when I'm either in a FaceTime call or when I'm just on the home screen right here, or sometimes when I'm multitasking and going in and out of different applications. But just browsing on social media and just going into YouTube and watching videos actually doesn't drain the battery as much as I thought it would. Now, keep in mind that you still will not last even half of the day without a charger, but still it could have been worse here on iOS 15 beta 1. And also, if we go into my battery right here, I just want to check out my battery health as well for those wondering. So if we go into our settings and battery, you can see my battery health is currently at 86%. So not the best battery health, not the worst, but you can see that's what I'm looking at for my battery capacity and also my, battery right here. You can see what I've been doing. That chart doesn't really tell you much just because I have been charging it so frequently because it drains so fast, but you can kind of see the chart there of how much it's draining. And of course, number one is the home and lock screen, and no surprise. So yeah, you're going to obviously have much better battery life on a stable build of iOS 14 than the iOS 15 betas. So now, should you update to iOS 15 beta 1? And I would say no. I would not recommend installing this first beta, at least not on your main phone for obvious reasons. But if you have a 6S as a secondary phone or as a backup phone, I would go ahead and try out iOS 15. There are a lot of cool new features to play around with, a lot of small things as well that I of course did not cover in this video because I've covered in several other videos, but I would test it out again, as long as it is a secondary device and you don't rely on it for stability. And if you're watching this video later down the road and the public beta is out, or we're on developer beta 3 or 4, then of course it should be more stable and you may consider installing it on a main device. But as I always say, I would never recommend installing a first beta on a main device. But anyways, guys, there you have it. That is my first impressions review of iOS 15 beta 1 on the oldest compatible device, the iPhone 6S. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. And also let me know if you want to see a video on the first generation iPhone SE on iOS 15. Let me know in a comment down below. Also, let me know if you're still using a 6S and why you're still using a 6S down there in those comments. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.